It's always good to see you. It's good to talk to you. And our profound condolences to this astronaut community, this truly unique community in this country, on this planet, that must grieve terribly today. Thank you.
Well, it's been Aaron, it's been a punch to the gut for everybody, but it's not, nobody's known for the count of 10. And I think you're going to see NASA rise to the occasion much more quickly, much more effervescently. It's sort of like the Apollo 1 fire. Did we bury our colleagues or did we bury the program? And those moments, that day at Arlington, just invigorated the spirit and the minds and hearts of everyone. And we ended up, what? Neil walked on the moon. I think you're going to see that from here on out. I think this is going to be a test of courage, a test of spirit, a test of commitment, and I think it's all going to end up very positive.
Mr. Cernan, it's always good to see you. Thank you, sir.
Aaron, thank you very much. A pleasure.
Gene Cernan tonight, and our special coverage of Columbia continues on this Sunday night. We'll talk with another former astronaut, Norm Faggard, in our second hour. Up next, the people arriving almost by the minute here in Houston to pay their respects. We have a long way to go on this Sunday night. This is Newsnight from Houston. As we arrived here in Houston this afternoon and made our way from the airport out to the Space Center, we saw all the signs that you see in American tragedies. We saw the flags flying at half-staff, of course. We saw the reader boards with people paying their respects to the astronauts and the astronaut communities. We saw the satellite TV trucks that always gather when there is tragedy in this country. And we saw hundreds of people outside the gate here at the Space Center who had come for just a moment or two to pay their respects, to bring flowers, drop a card, to be there, to be with each other. That's where CNN's Jeff Flock has been today as well. Jeff.
Indeed, Aaron, as you reported earlier, this is a community. This is where the astronauts lived, trained. This is where their kids went to school, where they went to church. And this tonight is where the community has come together. It is outside the main gate, not far, I should say, from where you sit tonight. And look what has grown up. This is what has grown up, come from the people who feel powerless, don't know what else to do. They brought flowers and cards, balloons, handwritten signs, posters. I was here in 1986 for the Challenger disaster. There was nothing like this. Perhaps it is from bitter experience that these folks have in some ways learned how to grieve this terrible loss. And as you see, folks have been coming for the last 2 days, continue to come to this spot to leave whatever they can to lay some remembrance. It is an incredible scene. I don't know that it has taken on Princess Diana-like proportions. We've been to a lot of scenes like this, but this is truly an incredible one. People with the children in their arms coming out. There's no other place, one person noted to me, there's no other place to come together to kind of show their collective solidarity with this community. So here's where they are. The latest, Darren, back to you.
I'm sorry, if we can just widen out for a second and show some of this. This is not precisely uniquely American. It does happen in other places. But it has become the way we grieve as communities. We saw this in Paducah, Kentucky, and Columbine, after tragedies in those cities, other places too. It's an opportunity to be a part of something, and unfortunately that something is almost always tragic. Why don't you stay on that for a second, and as our special look at the Columbia disaster continues here on Newsnight, a remembrance of that other day, that other shuttle disaster, the Shuttle Challenger. From Houston, this is Newsnight. It went largely unnoticed at the time in the way things sometimes do. Tuesday morning, the routine aboard Columbia came to a stop. The crew put down their experiments and they fell silent. They fell silent to mark the moment, the exact moment, 17 years ago, when Challenger exploded. And we remember that moment tonight.
The Challenger mission was special for us because it was the first time that NASA had decided to carry an ordinary citizen in space.
I don't think any teacher has ever been more ready
Aside from Krista McCool, the crew had Francis Scobie, Michael Smith, Judith Resnick, Ellison Oljanuka, Ron McNair, and Gregory Jarvis.
T-minus 21 seconds.
Things just didn't seem right, and of course that morning it was so very cold.
It was an unbelievable feeling that one of our own was going to be the first teacher in space.
Krista McAuliffe has been handed an apple by the closeout crew, and the solid rocket booster engine gimbal now underway. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Challenger, go at throttle up. Challenger, go at throttle up.
The vehicle apparently exploded, and that impact in the water. We are awaiting verification from as to the location of the recovery forces in the field.
We really didn't have any information, but you know you didn't need any. At that point, you knew they were gone.
It is with deep, heartfelt sorrow that I address you here this afternoon. At 11:40 a.m. this morning, space program experienced a national tragedy. I regret that I have to report that based on very preliminary searches of the ocean where the Challenger impacted this morning, these searches have not revealed any evidence that the crew of Challenger survived.
After the Challenger accident, former Secretary of State William Rogers headed a commission to try to find out what were the causes. One technical cause was the failure of the O-rings and the O-ring in one of the solid rocket boosters. That failure was brought out by Commissioner Richard Feynman.
I did a little experiment here.
He brought out a glass of cold water and brought a clamp and an O-ring and put it in the water to illustrate the point that under certain temperature conditions, O-rings will not do their job.
And let me give my heartfelt thanks to the members and staff of the Rogers Commission. As we push forward in our conquest of space, and push forward we will, our shuttle program will be safer and better prepared for the challenges that lie ahead.
Thinking back on that day, I thought then, and sadly yesterday, I had an unwelcome opportunity to have the same thought. I thought of the line in T.S. Eliot's poem, The Wasteland. April is the cruelest month. And I thought to myself, January is now the cruelest month for NASA. And yesterday we had just missed January by a day, and that mission had flown in January.
Hard to believe it's 17 years ago. We continue our special coverage of the Shuttle Columbia disaster. Take a short break and then take a look at key questions that will be asked and eventually answered, we hope, during the investigation. What steps NASA will have to take before men and women again return to space, particularly as it relates to the International Space Station, which flies above us tonight, astronauts on board. We have another hour to go. A short break, and Newsnight continues on a Sunday from Houston.